A chill runs down the spine when you consider the sheer audacity of it. What if everything you thought you knew about Meghan Markle's children, about her supposed motherhood, was a meticulously crafted illusion? No, we're not wading into the usual murky waters of online speculation here. The shocking claims actually originate from those closest to her, people who, if their statements are to be believed, hold the keys to a truly jaw-dropping secret. Her own father, Thomas Markle, has allegedly gone on record, suggesting Meghan had frozen her eggs years ago. And then, the next piece of this unsettling puzzle, her brother reportedly added that she underwent a procedure that would prevent her from having children naturally, a hysterectomy. And get this, all of it supposedly happened while she was still married to Trevor Engelson, long before Prince Harry ever entered her life. That single detail, if true, shatters the entire fairy tale narrative of their picture-perfect family, turning it into something far more unsettling. The deeper you dare to dig into this story, the messier it gets, revealing layers of potential deception. It's not simply about the existence of frozen eggs. The real issue that raises a forest of eyebrows is the apparent financial struggle tied to their storage. Keeping those eggs preserved isn't a one-time fee. It's an ongoing, hefty expense, reportedly anywhere from $8,000 to $9,000 a month. Now, rewind to Meghan's time before the royal spotlight. Insiders, those who were supposedly close to her at the time, claim she was making around $7,000 per episode on Suits, and even then, her screen time was famously limited across 108 episodes, adding up to just about 138 minutes in total. Blink and you miss her. If these figures are accurate, the idea that she could consistently afford such a staggering monthly expense for egg storage becomes a serious question mark. So consider the narrative. She supposedly couldn't maintain the storage, had a life-altering medical procedure, and then years later, 2 children are presented to the world as biologically hers. Do you see now why people are starting to connect these disjointed dots and demand answers? The public hasn't just idly speculated. They've become forensic investigators, dissecting every public appearance Meghan has made with her children. People are looking for the raw, unscripted moments, the spontaneous hugs and kisses, the messy reality of motherhood that most parents understand. Instead, what observers claim to see is a striking lack of genuine, open affection. The children, in many public sightings, appear stiff, almost awkward, as if they are merely props in a carefully choreographed scene. And it goes further than just general observations. There's been chatter, picked up by countless online discussions, suggesting that the little girl seen one day at Disneyland isn't the identical child seen in a different dress just a day later. Are we genuinely being asked to believe that different children are being rotated for different public appearances? The implications of such a scenario are nothing short of chilling. Then there's the notorious moon bump clip, a piece of footage that continues to circulate and fuel intense debate. The video allegedly shows Meghan walking with what many assert is an obviously fake pregnancy belly during the pandemic, inside a hospital no less. This wasn't just a casual outing. Strict COVID-19 rules were in full effect, particularly in maternity wards. You simply couldn't waltz in, let alone bring in camera crews and pose for content. This isn't just eyebrow-raising. If true, it could potentially indicate a serious breach of hospital protocols, or worse, an elaborate staging. Now, place all these observations beside her demeanor in interviews or public appearances. When her children are mentioned, her responses often seem distant, flat, and sometimes even strangely performative. It's as if she's going through the motions of being a mother, but without that undeniable visceral connection. This isn't fueled by animosity. It's observation. Something about it simply doesn't sit right with many viewers. The most damning aspect? Even her own father, Thomas Markle, has allegedly chimed in, dropping a bombshell that far surpasses random online gossip. He explicitly stated that she had her eggs removed and frozen, period. Then, her brother, Thomas Markle Jr., reportedly corroborated this, adding the crucial detail about her subsequent hysterectomy. This isn't trivial chatter. It's a direct, devastating blow to the narrative of her biological motherhood. If these claims hold any truth, it completely shatters the carefully constructed image. And what's truly astonishing is the deafening silence from the mainstream media. They largely gloss over these monumental accusations as if they never happened, avoiding the elephant in the room. This forces a critical question. If Meghan genuinely couldn't have children, then where did Archie and Lilibet come from? Why does it feel like the palace, the press, and even the public are all tiptoeing around the single biggest unanswered question in the entire royal saga? The unsettling reality that further throws people off is the relentless effort by Meghan and Harry to project this image of the perfect, loving parents, while simultaneously dodging any semblance of real transparency. Every instance where their children are brought into the public eye, it's either an overly polished, airbrushed affair or strangely vague, riddled with evasiveness. There are no raw, authentic birth photos, no messy, candid family moments, only meticulously curated images that feel more like brand material than genuine family snapshots. And then, there's this bizarre, almost impossible detail: the complete absence of any hospital confirmations, no medical professionals stepping forward, not even a single blurry paparazzi shot of Meghan actually pregnant in a truly candid, unposed moment. For a couple who constantly live in the glaring, unblinking eye of the media, that level of invisibility during such a significant life event is almost unfathomable. Let's not forget the persistent moon bump theories that refuse to fade. There's footage endlessly analyzed by countless individuals where Meghan's belly appears to literally shift and fold unnaturally as she performs even simple movements like squatting down. It's not just an awkward angle, it screams props, department error. People have zoomed in, slowed it down, meticulously analyzed it frame by frame, and what they claim to find doesn't suggest a growing baby bump. It suggests foam padding. If she chose to use a surrogate and simply didn't want to disclose it, that would be one thing. But if there's actual deception involved, if the public has been knowingly misled about something so fundamental, it completely changes the entire dynamic. It ceases to be about personal privacy and transforms into a glaring question of authenticity and, more critically, public trust. Adding another layer to this perplexing story is the controversy surrounding the children's birth certificates. At one point, reports surfaced that Meghan had her royal title removed from Archie's document, only for it to be inexplicably reinstated later. This is far from standard procedure. Moreover, in the US, royal titles are typically not recognized or used as legal names. Yet somehow, Archie and Lilibet's paperwork allegedly slipped through the cracks with titles attached. According to insiders, even immigration officials were reportedly perplexed by this anomaly and supposedly reached out to King Charles for clarity. This isn't something that happens in routine circumstances. It strongly suggests that something seriously, undeniably sketchy was afoot. Prince Harry, on the other hand, is hardly an innocent bystander in this complex web of speculation. He appears to be playing along perfectly, smiling for the cameras, riding the wave of public perception, and even reportedly demanding HRH titles for his children. This specific demand stirred up a veritable storm behind the scenes. Queen Elizabeth II, before her passing, had reportedly made it unequivocally clear: no HRH titles for those who choose to step away from active royal duties. Yet here came Harry seemingly attempting to push it through anyway. And according to multiple sources, King Charles, the very man who is supposed to clean up the monarchy's tarnished image, reportedly caved, handing over those titles like party favors. The questions are obvious. Why the sudden reversal? And what leverage was at play? But let's pause for a moment and consider the foundational question. Why would Meghan allegedly go through all this trouble in the first place? Why concoct such an intricate narrative if these claims are indeed true? Some argue it's purely for brand value, a calculated move to elevate her profile and secure her place in the public eye. Others suggest it's a desperate attempt to secure her spot in history. However, one theory stands out, a theory that offers a chillingly logical explanation. She believed that having royal children, especially with HRH titles, would irrevocably lock her into the monarchy forever. Not just in name, but in influence, in public perception, and in long-term PR power. In this scenario, whether she physically gave birth or not becomes almost irrelevant if the public is convinced and believes the carefully curated narrative. And yet, despite all the efforts to maintain the illusion, cracks continue to show. Meghan's behavior toward her children remains consistently, subtly off to many observers. In one viral video, she's seen awkwardly holding one child, seemingly like someone who has never truly held a toddler before. There's no natural eye contact, no soothing gestures, just stiff, almost unnatural posturing. And the children themselves? They often appear to be managed by assistants, a constant presence, reinforcing the feeling that these interactions are strictly for the camera. People aren't stupid. They notice the inconsistencies, the curious body language, the palpable lack of raw, real emotion. And the question that keeps echoing louder and louder is this: if these children aren't biologically hers, and if the palace is aware of this profound secret, then why is everyone involved meticulously pretending that everything is perfectly normal? Is it born out of fear, deep-seated shame, or something far deeper and more complex that we're not even close to understanding yet? Meghan's staunch defenders invariably jump in with the same tired argument: she's just private. But there's a critical difference between valuing one's privacy and what many perceive as a deliberate, systematic fabrication. When the narrative starts to look like you faked an entire pregnancy, potentially hired stand-in children, and meticulously manipulated your way into royal recognition, it transcends personal boundaries. it becomes a matter of widespread public deception. This is especially true when you continue to prominently use royal titles. Your bios remain on the official monarchy website, and you're actively cashing in on the Duchess brand every single chance you get. The argument of privacy loses all credibility in the face of such public exploitation of their royal connections. Then there's the curious timing of everything. The video of Meghan twerking, a moment that went instantly viral, surfaced right around the same time that fresh questions and renewed scrutiny began swirling about the children's true parentage. It felt to many almost like a deliberate distraction tactic. Create noise, stir up controversy, and intentionally shift public attention away from the uncomfortable, fundamental questions people are truly asking. The apparent strategy is to keep throwing out new headlines, new narratives, and new outrage bait. Anything to avoid addressing the core, unsettling questions. But what Meghan seems to be missing, or perhaps deliberately ignoring, is that this kind of manufactured, attention-seeking behavior doesn't build a lasting legacy. It actively burns it to the ground. The Kardashian comparisons, which she reportedly embraces, simply don't work here. Kim and Paris were never claiming royal legitimacy. They weren't putting children at the very center of a complex, high-stakes, public relations power play. Meghan is, and now, more than ever, the spotlight is shifting intensely onto Prince Harry. Because at the end of the day, this isn't solely Meghan's charade. Harry is neck-deep in it, arguably complicit in every layer of the alleged deception. He isn't some poor, unsuspecting fool who got duped. He is actively helping shape the story, participating in the narrative, and demanding the perks that come with it. This is a man who once vociferously claimed he hated the press, yet now appears almost obsessed with maintaining their public image, orchestrating photo ops, and calling the paparazzi when it suits his agenda, only to launch lawsuits when it doesn't. It's hypocrisy at full volume, a stark contrast to his earlier pronouncements. The royal family, meanwhile, maintains an eerie silence. No direct statements, no public pushback, just a quiet, uncomfortable tolerance that borders on complicity. And silence, in such a situation, is far from neutrality, especially when the monarchy's ancient, revered public image is being dragged through the mud by two people who walked away from their duties but cling desperately to their perks. Meghan still signs her name with Duchess of Sussex. Harry still demands royal treatment on international tours, and their bios remain prominently hosted on the official royal website. There's no accountability, no clear line being drawn. Every time Meghan posts a carefully staged photo with one of those children, every time Harry makes some impassioned speech about protecting his family, it feels like another calculated slap in the face to anyone who values truth and authenticity, because it's no longer just about them. It's about the very institution they claim to represent and the public trust they have potentially hijacked. The public might never get definitive, irrefutable proof of what truly happened. No clinic will come forward, no employee will leak records. But truth, in its own strange way, has an undeniable habit of surfacing. And the more Meghan and Harry try to act normal while everything around them screams abnormal, the more the cracks in their meticulously built facade will show. People are connecting dots. They're comparing dates, scrutinizing body language, analyzing photos, and noticing when the same child appears oddly different within a matter of days. At some point, even the most fiercely loyal fans will find it increasingly difficult to defend the illusion. The illusion simply cannot hold forever, and when it finally shatters, when the press stops shielding them, and the palace can no longer look away, what happens next could be far more explosive and consequential than anything we have witnessed yet, because this isn't just a couple bending the truth. This could very well be one of the biggest image con jobs in royal history, and everyone from the top down might have inadvertently, or knowingly, helped make it possible. This deep dive into the observations and lingering questions surrounding Meghan Markle's children isn't just about sensationalism. It taps into a fundamental human need for authenticity. When public figures present a curated version of reality, especially concerning something as personal as family, it inevitably sparks scrutiny. The sheer volume of inconsistencies, alleged insider claims, and visual anomalies has transformed what might have been dismissed as mere conspiracy theories into a compelling narrative that many are finding increasingly difficult to ignore. The persistent focus on these details highlights a deep-seated distrust that once sown is almost impossible to fully eradicate, regardless of how much effort is put into managing the narrative. Consider the pervasive nature of celebrity culture and the unique position the royal family occupies. They are public servants, their lives intrinsically linked to public perception and tradition. When a couple like Meghan and Harry step away from traditional duties, yet continue to leverage their royal association for commercial gain, the expectation, of transparency, particularly around core aspects of their public image, only intensifies. If claims about fabricated pregnancies or the use of stand-in children were ever to be definitively proven, it wouldn't just be a personal scandal, it would be a foundational tremor for the monarchy itself, implicating numerous individuals and institutions in a grand charade. The questions aren't just limited to birth and lineage. They extend to the very identity and well-being of the children themselves. If the claims about rotating children for public appearances were to hold any truth, it raises serious ethical concerns about the impact on these young lives. Are they simply pawns in a larger game of public relations? The lack of unscripted natural interaction, the often discussed awkwardness in photos, all contribute to a disturbing picture where genuine childhood moments might be sacrificed for a manufactured narrative. This is where the story shifts from mere curiosity to genuine concern for those caught in the crossfire. What's particularly striking is the silence from official channels. While the palace might be inclined to avoid dignifying rumors with a response, their continued quietude in the face of such persistent and detailed allegations only fuels suspicion. It allows the theories to fester and grow, transforming whispers into shouts. In an age of instant information and citizen journalism, the old tactic of simply ignoring controversial narratives is no longer effective. Instead, it often backfires, making the silent party appear complicit or, at the very least, unwilling to address uncomfortable truths. Ultimately, the unfolding drama around Meghan and Harry's children isn't just about gossip. It's a profound case study in public trust, image manipulation, and the enduring power of unanswered questions. The narrative they've presented is increasingly fragile, vulnerable to every alleged slip-up and every new observation from the public. The illusion, no matter how carefully constructed, relies on seamless execution and unwavering public belief. When the cracks become too numerous, too visible, and the questions too loud to ignore, the entire facade risks crumbling, potentially taking with it not just the Sussex brand, but also raising uncomfortable questions about the very fabric of royalty. The truth, in whatever form it eventually takes, promises to be more compelling than any manufactured fairy tale.